Hello everyone, it's Ryan Liberty, and in this video I'm going to talk about 10 signs of gaslighting. Wait a minute. Okay, so here we are. We're going to get to 10 signs of gaslighting. If you've never been here before on this channel, I talk about mental health and I like to humanize it and give a nice well-rounded perspective on everything to show that we all experience it in different ways, but we all do go through similar experiences and to kind of erase some of that stigma there is around mental illness and mental disorder. So 10 signs of gaslighting. First, I just like to say that we're talking about an abuse topic here, and if that bothers you, if it triggers you in any way, then go ahead and turn the video off. That's all right. Maybe come back to it later if you're feeling better. If you don't think you can handle it, you don't have to watch the video. Totally okay and acceptable. Also, because we're talking about emotional abuse, I like to remind everybody that we all do things that are like a little bit emotionally abusive. It's when it becomes a consistent pattern over time that you see this happening over and over again. That would be when we start to call it emotional abuse. And if you find that you're coming to this video because maybe you're the subject of emotional abuse, I want to suggest that you get help, that you get some resources, friends, family, helplines, support groups, shelters, whatever it is that you need. It's out there, the help is out there, and I want to suggest that you go towards it. So with that out of the way, 10 signs of gaslighting. So I sat down and I thought about, okay, gaslighting. What's going on? How do we know that gaslighting's happening? And these are not like research backed or anything. These are just kind of what I came up with. But I think they're a good little indication to maybe point you in the right direction and get you thinking about whether or not this is happening in your situation. So number one is that you start to doubt yourself. So because you're constantly having false information presented to you, then of course you're naturally going to start to wonder, like, did I really see that correctly? They're saying one thing and I'm saying something else, and maybe I didn't. Maybe I had that wrong. Maybe I made a mistake there. And you start doing this enough, you start to really heavily doubt yourself, and you start to doubt your own judgment on things. So if you start feeling like you can never really make a decision, you're never really sure of the way things were, the way things went, that would be a sign that maybe gaslighting is happening. The second sign that I have is that you find yourself asking lots and lots of questions, more questions than you would normally have to ask to get an answer about something. So I don't have a specific situation here, but if you, let's say, you need to know, like, well, where you ask, maybe just ask, like, where were you last night? How come you came home late? And they might say something like, well, that's none of your business. Okay, but, well, it is my business because you live here, so where were you? And then they say, well, I went and I stopped somewhere. Okay, but where did you stop? Like, when you have to keep asking all of these questions over and over and over again, it's possible that they're not giving you straightforward answers, and not getting those straightforward answers is what's getting you to doubt yourself, and it's getting you to start believing false information that they're presenting to you. The third related sign of gaslighting is that they're not giving you direct answers. So like yes or no, or this is where I was, or like they can't just give you the straight answer. They've got to do these roundabout things and kind of like push the blame back on you. Maybe they ask you questions instead of answering the question. So that would be another sign that something's a little amiss, something's weird here. When you have healthy communication, we all, like I said, we all do these things every now and then, but when you have healthy communication, you shouldn't have to really be pulling at somebody to get a straight answer about something. So the fourth sign of gaslighting, is that you leave discussions feeling more confused than when you started, and you feel drained. And this goes along with that, asking so many questions and maybe getting questions back in return and everything. You wind up doubting yourself, and you wind up confused about, how do I explain this? When you come out of the conversation with somebody who's gaslighting you, you may feel at first like, okay, I got the answers I wanted, but then you go back and you're like, wait a minute, that wasn't the question that I asked. I got an answer for something different. And then you just kind of feel like drained because you've had to like really work to get an answer out of somebody, and it's tiring and it's exhausting, and it's not the way we normally do communication with somebody. So it really kind of takes its toll on you, especially when you're doubting yourself, because then you're kind of like mentally attacking yourself. So it's draining. The fifth sign that gaslighting is happening is that you start entering a conversation curious, and this might be why you're asking a question. You're curious about what's going on. Maybe you just genuinely want to know what's happening in somebody's life. And while you're in the middle of this conversation, all of a sudden you're on the defensive. You feel like you need to make sure that like things are you're not being misunderstood, and that you have to protect yourself. Again, with healthy communication, you don't need to protect yourself. You don't need to defend yourself. So if you start to feel that way, it's not like a hard and fast rule that if you're feeling this way that you're being gaslighted, but if you were curious and something flipped and then you started feeling defensive, it could be because somebody keeps presenting false information to you or is turning it around on you and is trying to get you to doubt yourself. The sixth sign of gaslighting is that you feel like you need to prove yourself. So again, coming back to that defensiveness, it could be that they've turned things around on you, and now you feel like you have to come up with evidence for what you've been doing, and instead of answering, I'm just going back to the idea of like, well, where were you last night? Maybe they start saying, well, where were you last night? And then you say, well, I was home. And then they say, well, how do I know you were home? I don't have any proof that you were home. I texted you and you didn't answer me. So if you start feeling like you need to prove yourself, it could be that you're being gaslighted because the other person doesn't want to answer and give you true information about what was going on with them. The seventh sign of gaslighting is that the other person forgets things that you know that they were actually there and present for, and they should be able to remember pretty clearly. And you want to be a little bit careful with this, because if they are somebody with a mental illness, mental disorder, they may have dissociative amnesia. So that is possible. But you also want to be aware that if somebody's a good gaslighter, they may act like they have dissociative amnesia when they really don't. So don't be a little bit cautious here. Don't be armchair psychologist and try to figure out exactly what's going on. But if you find that somebody forgets like what you said to them, and you know that they were looking you straight in the face, and maybe they even repeated back to you what you said, but now all of a sudden they're denying, they said, I never said that, or you never said that, and this is a repeated thing, that could be a sign that you're being gaslighted. The eighth sign of gaslighting, and this goes along with number 4 about how you wind up feeling more confused and drained after being gaslighted, after going through these discussions. Number 8 is that they make promises that they never keep, and then they turn around and blame you for feeling frustrated about the fact that they never kept those promises. So that would be a sign of gaslighting, that you've gotten them to like admit to things, you've gotten them to promise, I'm going to make a change, or promise, okay, I'm going to do this behavior. And then when it comes down to it, they don't keep that promise, and then they start turning it around on you, saying, why are you so frustrated? Why are you being so difficult right now? I'm trying my best. And then you wind up feeling guilty and feeling bad and drained, because they are turning it around on you and trying to make it out like their behavior was not relevant, or maybe their behavior is more altruistic and positive than it really is. So that's something else to be aware of. The 9th sign that you could be being gaslighted is that other people get a different story than you do. So if you talk to other people who know the person who may be gaslighting you and the facts don't add up, if maybe one person says, no, there was something red and you were told it was yellow and somebody else was told it was green, that could be a clear sign that there's somebody bending the truth, the person who's gaslighting you most likely. Of course, you want to be careful. You never know who who is the truth teller here, so you want to make sure you trust the people that you're asking. But if you're getting different versions of the same story from a lot of different people, that would be something to be aware of and to be cautious about. And then finally, the 10th sign of gaslighting, and this is the most clear one and the best one that you can really go by, is that you have actual evidence that something is true or false, and they're saying the opposite. That is the best way to know if somebody's gaslighting you, because you can see, like, I know this is the truth, and this person's telling me otherwise. So, gaslighting, all of these things combined kind of give you a hint that it may be going on. I don't know that there's any perfect 100% foolproof way to know that somebody's gaslighting you. It's kind of something you have to figure out as you go along, and I do have a video on, if you feel like you're going through emotional abuse, keeping an emotional abuse journal. I would recommend doing that so that you can keep track of all of these different things and you can start to see if this is a pattern that's happening. But I don't want you to get overly suspicious and feel like it's definitely happening. Just be aware that these are signs. So what are signs that you have seen of gaslighting? Have you ever been gaslighted? I'd like to know what your experience is, and I'm sure that the rest of the community would love to know. So go ahead and leave that down below in the comments for everybody to hear. And thank you for learning about these signs of gaslighting today with me. Do you give a about mental health? If you do, then I've got some free coloring pages I think you'll enjoy. Go ahead and click to get those. If you like this video, I have many more on YouTube. Subscribe to see the rest of them. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below for the rest of the community and share with a friend. As always, I want to remind you that your life matters. Nobody can question your worth. However it is that you're feeling, whatever it is that you're going through, it's okay, and you are loved. Thanks again for watching.